And we're back. We're back, hopefully, with audio. Hello, everyone. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining me on this quick little impromptu live stream. It occurs to me that I haven't done one of these in a few weeks. Excuse me, because I was concentrating on the breakdowns of the Broken Empire's chapters. So I'll be doing another one of those soon. Probably the Intrigue chapter, which is the social, I don't want to say combat because it's not social combat, but social encounter rules, which are some of the greatest things ever. Anyway, Jam Scott, hello. Robert Dean, hello. Terry, good to see ya. Mr. Chori, hello. You guys could be it tonight because there's not a lot, but that's okay. That's all right. This was designed for this, just for the few of us to have a little chat, a little talk. So do tell me if you can hear me before we go too much further, because if you can't, I'm going to have to do something about that. In the meantime, Jim Scott, glad I could finally make one of these. Loud and clear. Excellent. Thank you, sir. It feels a little odd in the modern world to have something on a schedule. Yeah, well, I haven't really been keeping up with it, have I? Because I said I was going to do every Wednesday and then every other Saturday. And I'm telling you, finishing the Broken Empires has taken up all of my time. So it's very hard for me to maintain anything remotely resembling a normal schedule. But as you should know, I finally finished season 4. Oh my God! Finally finished season 4. And if you somehow missed it, it came out last week. That was a huge weight off my shoulders. It took me 2 years to finish that season, which is embarrassing. Embarrassing. We know why. Because I did the season all the way up until we did the Kickstarter, and then I got, Kickstarter brain. So that was it for a year and a half. But we're done now. Finally finished the tale of Vale and Thrag. No spoilers. We appreciate you finishing season 4. Yes, well, I'm glad you stuck with me until the bitter end. I know a lot of people probably dropped off. This show is never going to end. Well, it's over now. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good ending. An unusual ending. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it, but I felt that it was the kind of ending that I didn't see coming, which was nice, but it was also the kind of ending that it was very different from the other seasons, which I like. It was cool, it was different. Anyway, so it's done. Now I can move on to other things finally. And what are those things? Well, we'll talk about those. I have said for a long time I want to do a Rangers of Shadowdeep series, which will probably be done exclusively for patrons and YouTube channel members. I do have to... Oh, yes, of course. So let's keep this in mind. Robert says, I'm afraid I still have to catch up on season 4, so no spoiling is appreciated. Let's not do that in the chat here. I don't think you 4 will. But let's not blow it for Robert. But yeah, I have a couple specific questions from some of the patrons that I'm going... And the supporters, I think, that I'm going to get to. But... yeah, I wanted to do the Rangers of Shadowdeep because I think that'd be super fun to do, just like a limited series. And eventually I'm going to do five leagues from the Borderlands, which I'm very excited about as well. But in the meantime, I have to do the tutorial videos on the Broken Empires. That's probably the next big thing. But I do have a couple of Sage's libraries lined up. It would be nice to get back to that. The library's expanded. I actually had to add shelves to it because there's so much now because these companies keep sending me stuff. And I'm going to have to start reviewing them to justify them sending me this stuff. So that's also on the docket. So there's a lot of stuff coming up on the channel, which I'm very excited about. When I get a second to actually do something that doesn't involve trying to finish the damn Broken Empires. All right. Oh, Dan on Patreon is here too, but for some reason, Dan is not able to chat, which is really weird. I think this is the second time it's happened for you, Dan. Well, if you do have something to tell me, Dan, send it via a message on the Patreon, and I will get it on my phone, and I will see that you we're going to ask something. I need to get back to 5 leagues. My party got thoroughly beaten up several times. I haven't even looked at the book. I mean, that's not true. I looked at the introduction to the book. I know nothing about the system. I'm going to guess it's a lot like 5 leagues from home, or 5 parsecs from home, I should say. But, the fantasy version. But I'm excited about it. But Rangers is I think the next thing on the docket, because I had so much fun doing that werewolf adventure as a one-off on the channel here, which was super fun. And I've always wanted to do the full campaign. So I think I'm going to do it. Really, really good little system. Really, really dig it. Very cool. Okay. So there's I don't want to make this whole thing about the Broken Empires. I'm going to save that for like the Saturday streams. So if you guys want to talk about anything at all that isn't Broken Empires, do let me know. Of course, if you do have Broken Empires stuff, you can ask me. But I do have some questions. Some questions about it from one of the backers, who is also a patron. Caleth. Caleth wants to know a couple of specific things about the system. So we're going to get those out of the way so we can get on to other stuff. So what happens, he says, if you use your last point of resolve on a spell? Does it still go off? Well, I haven't gone into the Weave magic too much yet, but suffice to say that in order to cast any spell, you have to have at least 1 point of resolve left. Why? Because if you fail the skill roll, it costs you a point of resolve. But resolve is not necessary for completing the spell in terms of its skill value. It's only important when it comes to controlling the spell. So if you have 1 point of resolve and you cast and you succeed and you're uncontrolled, you can use your whopping 1 point of resolve to try and mitigate the spell, the weave reaction. Probably won't do much, and it might be better to just hang on to it so you can cast another spell. But that'll depend on the context. So yes, casting the spell and controlling the spell are two different things. Second question is, could a goal be convince these bandits as a random encounter to allow us to pass unharmed? Or is that too quick or easy of a goal? Well, as I do say in the goals chapter, there is a specific thing heading called Goals Take Time, which reads, a goal should be substantial enough that it takes at least 1 full session to complete. A goal that can be completed by 1 simple skill roll is rarely meaningful or significant and is usually too trivial to be worth XP. So in that case, running into a bunch of bandits and saying, hey, I want these bandits to be a goal so I can get some XP. It's not really within the spirit of the rules, and a GM who has read the rules will probably say, you got to do something a little more substantial. All right, what else have we got here? What else have we got here? Will there be a way to upgrade pledges? I don't think we can do that now. It's kind of locked in with Backer Kit. But if you still want to buy stuff off the store until we fulfill to the backers, anything you order on the store will be put together with your order. So if you are a backer and you wanted to buy something else that is available in the store that you didn't get in the Kickstarter, you can do that, and we will. Our goal is to combine the order so you only pay shipping once, right? That's the hope. Will you send the book PDF to all backers and pre-orders simultaneously? I don't know the answer to that. I had assumed yes, but I'm not sure. We might send out just to the backers first. I have to talk to my team about the best and most efficient way to handle that when that time comes, which is soon. By the way, I have to do the April monthly update here tonight and tomorrow. Not much to tell. We're all just working on everything. So we're all just making slow and steady progress towards the end. But actually, it's a little faster this month, which is good. We actually had a personal trauma in the team that we had to deal with that set us back a few weeks. A death in the family, but the work continued and is continuing again. So it wasn't as much of a slowdown as I had feared that it would be, which is good. But things are moving along nicely, which is good. And finally, can a Godbound interact with crafting the same way a Spellweaver does? I assume you mean by crafting like alchemy. No, because alchemy and enchantments are the province are in the province of the province. They're the province of. They're in the province of. What's that phrase? They're only weave people. Weave people can do it. Godbound don't do anything like that. Godbound can craft normal things like masterwork items or stuff using craft practical, craft artistic. But in terms of weave stuff, no, they can't. And there was another question. I'll see if I can find it. Was it still on the Discord here? I think it was. Oh, yeah. Rob Dean. I think you're here, Robert. Yes, Robert Dean. You asked, perhaps you might feel inclined to talk about miniatures. Well, I'm glad you are here because I want to ask you what you mean by that. Pitbull is here. Thank you. Thoughts and prayers for the team members' family. Thank you very much. It was not me. It was one of our guys, one of our principal primary dudes, but he's okay. He's okay. It was It doesn't matter. He's okay, and we're moving forward. So yeah, tell me, Rob, what you mean when you say perhaps you might feel inclined to talk about miniatures. Do you mean the miniatures that we sell as part of the Kickstarter? Or do you mean miniatures in general? Miniatures used at the table versus not? Do tell me what you mean, and we will espouse our thoughts on such a thing. I had a few topics specifically in mind that was based on a few Reddit threads that I came across this morning. Reddit is, it's hit and miss for me. I go on there to the RPG things. I look at what people are saying. Most of it's junk, but occasionally you get some smart questions or smart conversations. And I saw something today that really, I should have written it down because it's gone out of my head now. Okay, miniatures used at the table in general. Sure. So I'll tell you my philosophy on miniatures. When I was a kid, I started collecting Ral Partha pewter miniatures back when they were made of lead. So, I didn't spend a lot of time chewing on them, although you might not know that from my current brain-damaged performance. But the miniatures that I picked up were very crude because this was back in the early 80s, I guess. But they were super cool. I still have, I think, all of them that have survived the many, many moves I've made over the years. I was never a painter, though. And in those days, too, you had to use the old tester's paint, which was like oil-based paints. And you had to, it was just, you really had to know what you were doing. And as a, 12-year-old kid, I certainly did not know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing when it comes to painting. But I did love them, even though we never really used them at the table. And the reason why we didn't use them at the table is because they were too clunky to carry around without damaging them. They weren't like today's plastic minis, right? They were metal, and sometimes like you'd have a guy with a metal sword, and it would like, if you bent it too much, it would break, and it was just nightmare. So I didn't want to ever take those out of the house. But we didn't use them because in the old days, we didn't even really use a battle mat, which is what you would normally associate miniatures with, right? And we weren't wargamers at the time, so we didn't use terrain or anything like that. But we never used miniatures like that because we didn't really use battle mats. If anything, we would just describe like theater of the mind stuff. However, this leads into an interesting story that actually does tie back to the Reddit thread I was reading today. I can't remember how, but I know that it does. There was a syndrome that we had that I called the rubber bear syndrome. And I can't remember if I've talked about this or not on the channel, but rubber bear syndrome was the reason why we eventually did adopt a battle mat. Now, we didn't adopt miniatures. We adopted a battle mat with like a hex grid with water-soluble markers, like the old Statler markers that you could get and still can get. And I used bingo chips, little bingo chips, blue for the PCs and NPCs and red for everybody else. So all it was a little blue chip with a white sticker on it with the name of the character and an arrow showing which way they were facing. That was it. And that worked for years for us. The enemies were red bingo chips with a number, not even an arrow, just a number. Years and years. I still kind of prefer that. And the reason why I prefer it is because it preserves the feeling of theater of the mind, because the problem with miniatures that a lot of people find, in fact, I sympathize with this statement. A lot of people find that miniatures are too specific and they paint the picture too well for you. A lot of people, when they're playing RPGs, they want to indulge in what makes an RPG great, which is the personalized imaginative experience, right? Well, a miniature, when you look at the miniature, now you're only seeing the character as that, as opposed to the character you see in your mind. So my friend Ross, for example, he doesn't like miniatures because when he looks at a bunch of miniatures, he's seeing only one possible interpretation, some other sculptor's interpretation of what the character is. He wants to see his own. And I totally sympathize with that. Empathize, or both. Sympathize and empathize with that. So that's why we never used miniature. But to come back to the rubber bear syndrome, this is the day that I realized I needed a battle mat. For one reason, which was we needed a way to show, and this is really what we still need battle mats for today, really. All we need to know is, where am I in relation to everybody else? And basically, am I close to hit this guy, right? That's the answer the battle mat needs to give you. Why? Because I was running this session where I described the players. They were coming up to this cliff, and I described the cliff was about 100 feet away, and I was describing the types of trees coming out of it and the various things about the environment and the rocky footing, and there was a cave mouth, and as I was describing this, I described suddenly there was this shape emerging out of the cave, and oh my god, it was a bear, and suddenly the bear goes to attack you, and it hits you for 10 damage or whatever. And at that point, one of my players said, "Wait a minute. How did the bear hit me?" I said, "What?" He said, "You said the cave was 100 feet away. How did the bear hit me?" And so then we all started laughing because we had this image of this bear with rubber arms that goes, whack, 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 like the Mr. Fantastic of Earth Signs. And we laughed and laughed and laughed, and from that day on, I knew we need a battle mat. We need to accurately portray the relative distance between opponents. That was it. Now, as the years went on, I got really fancy with battle mats, which, of course, was antithetical to the whole reason why I didn't like miniatures, right? Because I said I didn't like miniatures because it was too specific. But we had these little chips, bingo chips, and yet I would draw these elaborate battle maps where you would see every fallen log and every bush and every tree stump, because all of that became very important for the tactics, because you could move to this hex and be behind the tree bole, which means you couldn't be targeted by the archer. But if you moved over here and you could push the guy back over the fallen log, then he would be all of this kind of stuff, right? So I was giving these immaculately detailed battle mats, which very much painted the picture, my version of the picture. So it was great tactically, and it made sense tactically, but it was imposing my specific idea of what the battle looked like, which was hypocritical, because that's why we didn't use minis, right? Anyway, it was it's just what we got used to. So I didn't start to use miniatures until I really started Me, Myself, and Die, because I wanted a visual representation of what was going on in the game, and I had these miniatures, and I got really into making terrain for the very first time. First guy I started to watch was DM Scotty. He taught me how to make hills out of toilet paper, and then I got onto Black Magic Craft and Wylock's Armory and all of these great channels, and I made a bunch of stuff, most of which I wound up using in the show. I was very proud of it. And it is cool. But I have no problem using it in the game on the channel, because when I do the show on the channel, it's a show, right? It's designed to be a visual medium. It's designed to be cool looking. So I wouldn't want to use my little bingo chips, because that just looks lame. Works great in a real game where with the audience, which is the players, they'll all be able to see their own versions of things. But I mean, it's a show. I'm supposed to show Simon and Arn and Edbert going through the woods. You gotta see the woods. You gotta see the miniatures, right? So that's why I started using them there. Your other question, how large is your collection and how did that influence the seasons of MMD? Well, as I just said, because I had them, I wanted to use them. And then I started buying a lot more, right? There was Reaper Minis did a giant Kickstarter a few years back, and I bought hundreds and hundreds of minis. Most of them I still haven't even taken out of their packages yet. They're still in the closet. And of course the minis for Broken Empires, there's not a lot, right? We have the main characters, and Thrag, and Slithta, who's the Lizardman shaman from season 3, and Akom, the Death Knight, from season 4. And I think that's it. We're not a miniatures company, right? But I thought it would be cool. Oh, and Carlos, the pirate, of course, is available for pre-order on the store. So if you want to get a copy of him, you can. Yes, Carlos is, yes, thank you for catching me on that, Mr. Choi. Carlos is definitely one of them too. But in the main pack that we unlocked as part of the Kickstarter, it's I think there's 7 of them, I think. Will we make more in the future? I don't know. It was kind of a novelty for me because I'm like, it'd be so cool to have minis of the main characters of the show. But for backers who have no interest in the show, they just want the game, it's not going to mean anything to them, right? So this is really an Easter egg for you guys, for you, Me, Myself, and Die fans who have followed the show all this time. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun to get them. And my friend John is going to paint them up, and I'll use them at some point for something. Lots of Ralph Parth in my collection. Bought my first minis from them, 1976. Yeah, that sounds about right. and mini use recommendations for Broken Empires. Yeah, I mean, we have, as part of the starter set, a bunch of zoned maps that you can use as battle maps. You can use minis if you want. They're designed to be the right scale for normal minis. Or you can use tokens. We have tokens in the box as well you can use. Or you can use bingo chips with names and arrows on them if you want. It's probably how I would use them. Oh, Craig. Hello, Craig. Lizardman mini. Craig's obsessed with Lizardmen for some reason. Worth the Kickstarter price right there. Couldn't agree more, Craig. Couldn't agree more. All right. So that's minis. Battle mats in general, I really do feel strongly about this. I think that you don't need a fancy battle mat. Oh, I know. I remember now what I wanted to talk about, which was the virtual tabletops. Had a big conversation with our Dragonbane group on Sunday about virtual tabletops. I really believe in a battle mat in some form, even if that's just a hasty sketch. Again, not because I'm trying to impose my vision of what the situation should look like, although a GM's job is to be very clear about the tactical elements on the battle mat so that players can take advantage of it or be taken advantage of by the enemies, right? That's important stuff. If you like a sim-light game like me, you want to make sure that stuff actually matters on the board, so to speak. But it really doesn't have to be anything other than a sketch. As long as we know roughly, am I close enough to hit this guy? That's the question we want to answer, right? Whether that's with a bow or sword or whatever. That's why, like when I first saw the concept of zones, I think it was in the game Fate, which I'm not a huge fan of, although I like certain aspects of it. When I first saw zones, I hated it. Didn't like it. Oh, hey, Eric, how you doing? Love the ending of season 4. That's awesome. Don't give any spoilers because some of the people here haven't seen the end yet. So yeah, I think you came in late, but let's not talk too much about the end of season 4. But yeah, a battle mat I think is really important of some sort because it does show you relative positions, and zones are just a very easy way to do that. I like deeply simulationist games. I like Harnmaster, which is hex by hex. I like the Fantasy Trip and GURPS, which tend to be like you shift one hex and attack here, right? I love all that stuff. But in general, I find that the zone is just a faster way to play because it does answer that principal question of, am I close enough to hit the guy? And if not, what do I have to do to get to the guy? Plus the fact you can add in things like, well, this zone is rough footing, which means now there's some technical realities about it that you might want to take into consideration, like you can use against your opponents and things like this. So I know a lot of old school guys don't like zones. I was like them, but I've warmed to them, and now I do quite like them. Because you can kind of hand wave stuff, right? Like when we were playing Forbidden Lands, our on a VTT, which I'll come back to, that conversation. Our GM, Jared, he would just eyeball zones. So you would look at the battle mat and you would just get a sense, okay, well, I'm roughly that much farther away from the dude that I need to be, right? And he would just say, yeah, you're one zone away. So, okay, that's fine. Trust your GM, no problem. But again, if you're coming from a wargaming background where, no, I need to know exactly how many inches I am. That's not really my style. I like it in minis game, and I like it in war games. By the way, I agree in general about battle mats. We're used to viewing the minis abstractly, but I'd have no issue with basic pawns instead. Yeah, it's just preference, right? Some people love the minis, like my group here. They love the minis, but they are painters as well, so they love to paint the minis and have this really realistic depiction. It's never been that important to me, but I get it. I get why people do. My apologies. That's okay. That's all right. How could you have known? It's fine. All right. Oh, VTTs, right. That's what we were talking about. So we were talking about the virtual tabletop as the necessary evil of the modern RPG. Necessary evil because I don't like them, and I think that they provide an experience that is actually antithetical to what makes a role-playing game powerful. I will explain that. However, before I do, I will say it's a necessary evil in that I'm very grateful for their existence, because without them, I wouldn't be able to play half the games I play. Half the games I play are with my friends in other cities. So I would never be able to play. So we used to dream in the days before high-speed internet. We used to dream, wouldn't it be amazing if there was some way we could use our computers to all play the game together, even though we're all in different cities and different time zones? But that was fantasy at the time. Well, now of course, as we all know, it's the status quo. It's how most people play. But I'm always stunned when I hear these young people who have only ever played with VTTs and have never actually sat around a table rolling real dice with real people, filling in character sheets with pencils. To me, they haven't had a true RPG experience. Now, that's going to sound super old man or very elitist or whatever, but I don't mean it in either of those contexts. What I mean is, when the role-playing game was developed, it is a unique form of entertainment. It's absolutely unique. There's nothing else like it. It's not a movie. It's not a TV show. It's not a book. It's its own thing because the audience is also the participants, and in the best case scenario, nobody knows what's going to happen, right? We're all just exploring this thing, and it's all happening in real time in front of our eyes. It's all unfolding based on the choices that the players are making. So there's no other form of entertainment like it. It's absolutely unique. It's not a sports game. It's nothing, right? So the power of that is in the details. So when you're sitting around a table with 5 players and a GM, say, there's a dynamic there. There's a social dynamic, but there's also a physical dynamic where if I'm the GM and there's 5 players and the players are in a tavern, let's say, and 2 of them are talking to an NPC that I'm playing, 2 of them are having a side conversation about something else. Maybe they're discussing their plans for the future or something. Well, if I'm at the table, I can engage in the conversation as the NPC with these 2 players. At the same time, I can keep one ear on the sidebar conversation these players are having, so that I can split my mind in 2 and observe myself listening to this thing, which is very useful because that way you, as a GM, you can keep very much alert of what's happening all the time, so you can act in the moment, right? Well, that is impossible on a VTT. If you're using a video service like we do, we use Zoom, right? It's impossible because, as anyone who's ever been in a Zoom call with more than 2 people knows, as soon as 2 people start talking at the same time, it becomes audio chaos. You can't hear anything. We all know this. So, in that exact same situation on the VTT, I'm the GM, and there's 5 players. Maybe 2 of them are in the same room, but 3 of them are on their own connections. As soon as 2 of them in 2 different Zoom windows start to talk, that's it. I can't hear anything. And they can't have sidebars. Oh, yes, they could type secret notes to each other, but that is not the same thing. Because you could do that at a table, too, if you really wanted to. So it's little things like that change the experience. Also, for example, we're running Dragonbane, and we're using the on-screen or the in-app character sheets and the dice rollers and all of that stuff. So Dragonbane has the same kind of mechanic as D&D 5e is, which is advantage, disadvantage. It's called Banes and Boons, but it's the exact same thing. So in Roll20, which we are using, which I know is not the greatest of the VTTs, but it's the one we're using, you want to roll with a Bane, let's say. Oh no, I have to roll with a Bane. 2 and roll 2d20, take the worst. So the character opens up his character sheet, or the player does rather, and he goes to the section where, okay, I have to add a Bane. Okay, I add 1 Bane. Okay, plus 1 Bane. And now he goes down to his skill. Okay, all right. Okay, and he clicks that skill. And then we all look at the chat window. And we look at the chat window, and it shows the number and roll, but we don't trust it because sometimes it fucks up. So we got to take our cursor and hover over the number to make sure it in fact really did roll 2d20 and take the worst. Now compare that to at the table where I say, roll with a Bane. And the guy picks up 2d20 and goes, click. I failed or I succeeded. That, right? Now, I know not all VTT games work out that way. Some VTT games just trust the players to roll their normal dice, but I'm talking about the majority, right? The majority use the in-game dice rollers because they're there. That's part of the experience. Some games require it, like if you ever play Pathfinder 2 on Foundry, there's it's like learning a new skill that has nothing to do. It's like learning a programming language in a way that has nothing to do with playing the actual game. The other problem I have with the VTTs is that it winds up playing the game for you in a lot of cases, especially in fully automated games like Pathfinder 2. I don't want the computer to play the game for me. I want to understand the processes of the dice mechanics. I want to do the math in my head so that I understand what it is I'm rolling and what the result's going to be. For me, That's part of the experience. I don't want to click a button and have a computer tell me what happens. I'll just go play a video game if that's the case. An RPG is not a video game. So I want to be part of that experience. So these are all of the great weaknesses of the VTT. Also, what a lot of people consider strengths. Oh, it's so great because you could show a battle mat and show exactly what it is. And then you could bring in sound effects and music. And it's just like, well, guess what? This is the same thing as using minis at the table now for us. I don't want to have a specific idea, or rather, I don't want to have a piece of art that tells me this is exactly what it looks like, necessarily. Because that robs me of the power of the RPG, which is for me to use my own imagination. So when the GM says, this is what the guy looks like, and he slaps up some AI-generated image of the bartender or something, yes, it's very useful, very convenient. After all, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You don't have to take any time to describe it. But the job of the GM is to take the time to describe it so that we can all have our own images of that character in our head. That's the power of the RPG. There was a section in the book, The Broken Empires, in the GM section, I think it was in the GM section, that I had to take out for time, or for space, rather. But it talked about one of the true powers of the RPG is personalization, right? Personalization of experience. No matter what happens at a session, you could have a GM with 5 players, and that GM describes a situation, and every single one of those 5 players is going to have a slightly different version. If you could have a camera and peer directly into their own imaginations, you're going to see 5 wildly different scenes. But the GM's job is to make sure that the crucial aspects upon which the players are going to make meaningful choices are all super solid, so that the players can work off of an objective reality, right? But the details, what color was the bartender's shoes, right? What did the ale taste like? That's all up to each individual to figure out for themselves. And that's a powerful thing. Allowing the players to have that experience, that is a powerful, powerful thing. So the VTT takes away from that. And it adds a different experience. I'm not saying it's a bad experience. VTT experiences are fine, but when the GM slaps up a picture of the NPC and slaps up a soundtrack, okay, I mean, I use soundtracks, I use music at the table, so I'd be hypocritical to say that I don't like that. I have used pictures at the table. Hey, this is what this guy looks like, because it's easy to do that. So I get it, right? There's really no difference. But in its purest form, in the purest theater of the mind form, a VTT cannot compare to the human imagination, and it can't compete with it either. So I feel like it's like creatively lazy to rely on all of those fancy bells and whistles tools of the VTT, because that's not what I want out of my sessions. What I want out of my sessions is a deeply personalized thing, right? What I was going to say, that the piece that got cut out, was a quote by C.S. Lewis when he was I think this is in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when he's talking about, he's describing the feast, right? The Feast of Aslan or whatever it is. And he could have pulled a George R. R. Martin, right? He could describe the trenches of bread filled with thick gravy and the succulent meats and the sweet apples sliced in 8 pieces. But, you know, it just makes your mouth water just thinking about it. But he doesn't do that. No, what he does is instead, and this is paraphrasing, he says, the feast was filled with food and drink and all of the things that you would expect at such a feast. All of the things you would expect at such a feast. So now each reader of that book is taking away their own personal version of it. That is the same power that the RPG gives. And that is what is taken away when you overemphasize one guy's version of the details, whether that's miniatures at the table, right? Or whether that's bells and whistles of a VTT. So that was what we were discussing on Sunday with my group over a VTT. We were having that conversation. So I don't hate them. Like I said, I'm very grateful for their existence. I wouldn't be able to play half the games without them. But I do feel that it's in every gamer's interest, especially you young folks out there. If you've never played a game around a table with real dice and pencils and character sheets, breathing each other's air and eating snacks on the table and seeing the miniatures or the bingo chips or whatever you're using, you know, seeing the battle mat drawn out hastily by the GM behind the screen, all of that stuff it all adds up to a unique experience that is unique to role-playing games. So I would heartily recommend you do that if you possibly can, because now you may not like it as much, because, if you started with VTTs and that's all you know, then this is going to feel super alien. But I got to tell you, that's how the game was intended. That's how it was intended, because that's how it was built. It was built in a time long before computers. So this is you really want OSR experience. Yeah. You do that shit around a table. All right, let's see what we've got here. Pitbull says, younger guy here, only online for 5 years. First in-person game was 1 year ago. Don't really want to go back unless it's the last resort. You don't want to go back to an in-person game or to an online game? I'd be curious. Do tell. I remember back in high school, my DM would constantly do sidebars with us in another room, giving us specific info about what our character saw, or if we had a side conversation with an NPC. Exactly. We did that all the time, Eric. All the time. Loved this because it created a tension and realism between characters who are not always with each other in the game. 100%. Again, there's ways to do that in a Zoom call, right? You could shunt everybody off to the waiting room, but that sucks. That's not the same thing as literally pointing to a player and say, come with me, and then going into the other room and going, okay, now what he says to you, while the other players are going, oh, what's going on there? I don't know. And then they get on their own sidebars, and then you come back and they're all like, what's going on? Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Old guy here, says Robert. I've played on VTTs, but can't find the energy to learn to GM that way. By the way, most of the limited VTT time has been Fate. Zones seem like a better idea in VTT than more detail. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your preferences. I've run Harnmaster on VTTs, and that's hex by hex. And it works, right? Takes a little more time, but it's preferences. You say you can't find the energy to learn to GM that way. Yeah, I mean, it is a different style. You have to adopt a different set of skills, which we don't have to do at the table, because it's a different medium, right? As the man said, the medium is the message. My old brain finds music to be a problem in play, trying to disambiguate multiple audio streams is a challenge these days. That's interesting. I used to do a thing when I was running Harnmaster back when I lived in Vancouver, where I had two sound systems going as I was running the game. I don't know where I got the brain power to do all this. I had two sound systems going. One was for music that was on a playlist. So I would categorize the music into general atmosphere, right? Like, is it combat? Is it exploration? Is it mystery? Whatever. And I'd pick a bunch of tracks beforehand, and then I'd just have a playlist. And I always wanted to pick tracks that weren't obtrusive, that didn't have a lot of sharp highs and lows, a lot of like spikes, because that can be distracting. So a lot of video game soundtracks are actually great for that. Like if you look at the Skyrim soundtrack, it's very even. There's not a lot of peaks, right? Not a lot of spikes, and that's really good. But the other sound system, I had a list of sound effects, which was controlled with my phone at the time. So if the players went into a forest, I would have the forest. I had them all there. Forest wind. And then if it started to rain, I'd put rain. Heavy, light, whatever. Now, all of this may sound like, oh, so, you were doing all the stuff a VTT was doing. Yeah, kind of. I kind of was. But the difference was we were still all in the same room together. And you're able to focus. Oh, that's the other thing about VTTs in general. When you're in a room together, by the way, when I run, there's no phones at my table. There's none of this nonsense. No, you're there to play the game. You're there to focus. Well, you cannot guarantee that when everybody's in a different city, right? You see that all the time. Second screening, right? Where someone is playing the game, but there they are. They're clearly scrolling. They're clearly not paying attention. If someone did that to me at a physical table, I'd kick them out. Dude, you're here to play the game. If you don't want to play the game, that's fine, but do it somewhere else because you're wrecking the experience for us. But that has become the norm in our society, in our three-screen society, which I just detest. I detest because it takes the focus off what we're all there to do. So that's another big problem with the VTTs. I think I have a message from Dan, my Patreon, who for some reason is not able to... he says he doesn't have a Google account, so he can't chat on YouTube. Okay. Well, get one, man. Anyway, if you do, that's good. Dan, if you do have a specific question or something, let me know. I will get it. Eric says, the one thing I love about certain films with the soundtrack, does it tell me all the time that the ghost is around the corner? I don't want to be told to be scared. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Although it is a useful telegraphing tool, which can be used in moderation to great effect if you know what you're doing. Pitbull says, back to an online game. There's just something different about in-person I like better. Yes, well, I mean, obviously. Again, there's a lot of people out there that must play with VTT for all kinds of reasons. They live in a different city from their friends. They can't find people to play, whatever. So I get it. Let me reiterate how grateful I am that it exists. How grateful I am that we have the option to play wrong with a VTT. Because so many games I would have missed out. I wouldn't have been able to run my One Ring campaign if it wasn't for the VTT. You know, we did that on Roll20 mostly. I would fly home whenever I could, and that was an event, right? Like when I would fly home to play in person. I will say this, though. There are certain tricks you can do to make VTTs a little less obtrusive, and it doesn't always work, right? It's going to depend on your setup. But for the One Ring campaign, I was living in LA at the time, and my friends were all back home in Edmonton. So what we would do, and we did this with Warhammer 40K as well. My friend Ashley was running several campaigns. And what they would do is they'd all go over to my friend Brian's place. So all the players would congregate around the table, just like normal. But at the head of the table, there was a giant monitor and the camera. So that when they looked at the head of the table, they saw my face. Because there I was, looking out the monitor. And the camera was up top so I could see them. I could see the whole table. So I didn't need a VTT for dice rolls and stuff because they were all in the same room. So they could roll real dice and police each other and all that kind of stuff to keep each other honest. And I would just roll, you know, it was as though I was rolling dice behind the screen, because I literally was, although a very different screen. Well, I will tell you that very quickly we adapted so well to that to this day, none of us can remember which sessions were in person and which sessions were over the VTT. So that helped, right? Because for them, they were always in the same room. And when they were looking to the monitor, they're seeing me at exactly the same position at the head of the table that I would have been if I'd been running the game in person. And I saw them pretty much as I would have been able to see. Now, if they would have side conversations, I couldn't hear it, because even though they were the only microphone on Zoom compared to mine, like there was my account and their account, but there was only one. Because of the nature of the technology, if more than one person talks, it just comes across as garbled audio to me, right? So we had to implement very specific discipline rules about when you're talking. If someone is speaking, you can't talk over them, right? So you literally cannot have those kind of side conversations I was talking about before, which is unfortunate, but it was us adapting to the technology. So again, there are things you could do to make it better, but it'll never be the same as being around the table, right? It just won't. Eric says, however, when I play solo, I absolutely will put on soundtracks to help create the scene. Yeah, I listen to a lot of soundtracks before I do a solo game for the show. Obviously, I can't do it while I'm recording because it would screw up the editing, and I'd have to cut it all out anyway because of audio copyright. Can't listen to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack while I'm recording Me, Myself, and Die, or else be demonetized immediately. Yeah. Anyway, on and on about VTTs. I didn't really intend to talk all this time about that. What else have we got here? See if anybody else asking me any questions here. I don't see anything here. Yeah. So, here's a thing. So I got this email from a company the other day, which is an AI company. And their thing is, hey, we love your show. We love your solo role-playing, all that stuff. How would you like to use our program where an AI becomes the GM? And it's great. You put in the prompts, and then the AI takes over, and it's just like having a GM at the room to do all the interpreting for you. And to me, I think, why the hell would I want that? The whole point, especially in solo role-playing, the whole point is using my imagination to interpret the prompts. not some computer. I don't give a damn what some computer spits out. Why would I do that? For me, the entire point of solo role-playing is allowing my imagination to fire based on the prompts and then go with that instinct and see where it takes me. If I want a GM, I'll play with the human. Thank you very much. I'll play with the person. So, to me, that whole thing is just weird. But I hear a lot of solo people talking about that. Oh my God, it's great. I use AI as a GM. I use ChatGPT as a GM or whatever. It's so great because it leads me to this. So let me ask you guys. You guys are there's a lot of solo people here. What's your thoughts on that? Do you use it? Do you like it? If so, why? How does it not completely undermine the entire creative process of solo roleplay? Because I honestly don't see it. I mean, to me, it's lazy. Why would you use that? Again, if I want a computer to tell me what happens, I'll just play a video game. I'll fire up Kingdom Come Deliverance or something. But, which is probably the closest thing to a first-person role-playing game experience you're going to get. So yeah, if you guys have any experience with that, let me know, because I'd like to talk about that. Robert says also, I will be looking forward to new Sage's Library episodes and a comment on what's coming up. Well, there's a few. One is Dragonbane. I've done an actual play of Dragonbane. I've done a featureless Grey Plane, but I haven't done a Sage's Library. I've been running a ton of Dragonbane over the past couple months as a palate cleanser when I get a chance. Super fun. I have some issues with the game that it's not really fundamental problems with the game itself as it is. My preferences don't quite match with some of its assumptions and its mechanical assumptions. But I know it well enough now to be able to do a real proper Sage's Library on it. So I might do that. I might also do Band of Blades, which is not a Powered by the Apocalypse. It's a Forged in the Dark game. So based on Blades in the Dark, which I ran once. I played as a player through the entire campaign. That's an interesting one because I love the experience of the game. I love the setting. I love the story of it because there is a very specific objective. I love the atmosphere. I love everything. Kind of hate the system. Kind of hate the system itself. And I didn't mind it as a player, but as a GM, I despised it. I hated it. It felt like the whole game, the whole GM section was basically saying, I don't know, just make something up. It's all hand wavy. Maybe it's this. Who knows? Which I was like, well, why do I have a 400-page rule book then if you're just going to say, I don't know, do whatever you want? That's what it felt like. It's probably unfair. I've tried to reread it again, but every time I get to those sections, I get angry at it. I want to throw it against the wall. Where you can still see the burning wheel marks on the wall from the multiple times I hucked that across the room. So I might do that. As long as I don't make it some horrible anger fest. I hate this game, because I really don't. I mean, there's parts of it I just love, you know? So there's that. What else is on the docket for... Oh, Mithras was one I was going to do, because I haven't done a Sage's Library. I don't think I've done a Sage's Library on Mithras. But I want to hold off on that one, because Mithras... There's a lot of similarities between Mithras and the Broken Empires in terms of certain key things. So I don't want to muddy the waters. So I might wait on that one until after the Broken Empires comes out. What else? I've done GURPS. I haven't done the Fantasy Trip. I did an actual play on the Fantasy Trip. I did a featureless Great Plane. I really like that game. Really like that little simulationist combat engine. Really, really, really dig it. Not currently using AI for anything, gaming or other life. Amen to AI not being part of my solo play. You hit the nail on the head. Lazy, and it's not my imagination being worked. I will say, I have found ChatGPT to be very useful as a tool. I use it to help me with odds issues, with numbers issues, or with mathematical issues, mostly, right? I'll say, okay, here's my rules on X. Take, for example, I had an issue with some of the experience point costs for buying things in the Broken Empires. And I said, so I uploaded that chapter and I said, okay, here's my chapter. Here's the numbers I have for how much it costs. Based on the XP that a player can potentially get in a session, do you think that these numbers for expenditures are in the right ballpark? I'm skeptical because of X, Y, and Z. And then I put that in. And then it spits back a bunch of stuff, some of which is utterly useless, by the way. For those people who think AI is going to take over the world, I'm like, have you used ChatGPT? Because it's kind of a dummy. You know, you don't have to use it for very long before you realize the ceilings it keeps hitting. So it's very frustrating. But when it comes to things like tallying numbers or figuring out odds, things like that, it's way, I mean, I can't do that stuff. But it does it in the blink of an eye. You know, it'll say, well, actually, if you use 4D4 on this, that'll create a range of this. And based on what you've said before, that actually means your average is 2.3, which is not what you said you want. So number stuff, it's very good with. But when it comes to things like pure creative stuff, I found it to be very derivative, obviously, because it's literally deriving from everything else that's ever been made by a human. But I get it as a useful tool. Because it is. It's a very useful tool for many things. But to just rely on the AI to be your GM, to me, is like, again, it defeats the entire purpose of playing, if you ask me. Used an AI for like 2 scenes for a solo sci-fi game. It kept putting a blue rock in the scene that didn't exist in my head. Got frustrated and stopped. Exactly. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. When it starts to hallucinate and it starts to say, oh, no, there was a lot of, maybe it doesn't do this anymore, but I know in sort of the early days, so, 6 months ago, people would always say, when I use AI to try and GM me, it always wants to forego combat because it's always trying to, no, let's resolve the conflict another way. And you're like, goblin, kill, have sword, must kill goblin. No, the goblin wants to talk. No GM worth his salt, whatever to that. Speaking of Harnmaster, can't wait to get the hard copy of Avail. Yes, the Elven Forest of Harn. I have the old version PDF, but wanted the hard copy. Take my money, Columbia Games. Well, I think you'll be able to get it this summer, right? Because I think that's their next Kickstarter. So I'm sure they'll have a copy available at Gen Con. I don't think I'll be able to get to Gen Con this year, guys. This will be the first time since I started going, which is not that long ago. Which sucks because I wasn't able to get a hotel. The Columbia Games people were very good enough to give me a badge, but I didn't get a hotel. And the only way I'd be able to do it is if I stayed way out the airport, and that's just way too inconvenient. So I don't think I'll be able to get there this year, which is actually okay, because honestly, 2027 is going to be the big year for me at Gen Con. If I could get a booth there, that'd be fantastic, because I'll have the Broken Empires, and I'll be able to, be there with copies of the book to sell and talk about and do little sessions and stuff like that. So I think that's what's going to happen. It seems to take more time to train the AI to act like a GM than just to think for myself. Yeah, exactly. That's what I had figured. Mad Chef, hello. AI is a good tool, like you say. Sometimes it will trigger an idea that I might not have thought of. Keeps my stories a little more varied. I don't ever use it for word for word, though. Yeah, and it is good for that, right? If I need ideas, like raw ideas, I'll say, you know what? Give me the names of 5 gods of war, or give me the descriptions of their churches, right? Like give me some religious precepts of their churches, and it'll spit out a bunch of stuff. And 4 to 5 times they're going to be no. But in there somewhere, there's going to be interesting things that's going to fire my imagination, make me go, oh, you know what? I think that's cool. I think that actually connects to that other thing I was thinking about in the other part of the world where X, Y, and Z happened. So yeah, I'm going to take this, and then by the time I've mutated it to fit into what I'm doing, it doesn't look anything at all like what the AI has spit out. In fact, AI is very useful for that in the same way that a writer's room is very useful. So for those of you who've never been in a TV writer's room, this is how it works. All the writers are in the room, and the showrunner comes out. And the showrunner typically says, okay, we're going to break down this episode today. What does that mean? It means we're going to figure out what happens in this episode. Now, sometimes they come in and they say, I already know where what I want the general arc of the episode to be. I kind of want it to start here. I want it to end here, but I don't know what happens in the middle. So we're going to figure this out. So all the writers sit down and we start spitballing. We start pitching ideas. What if this happens? What if he does that? What if she comes in at this point? Oh, yeah, and then what if this chase scene happens here? Blah, 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 blah. So we do that for a couple hours, and then we pick out the ideas that the showrunner picks out the ideas that he likes, and he puts them together, and then we get this big hunk of episode material, which then is given off to one of us to hack down into a proper outline, and then hack down into a first draft of a script, or a beat sheet as we call it, and then a first draft of a script, and then the second draft of a script, and on and on and on. So ChatGPT for me is like a writer's room with a billion people in it. Because I can say, okay, I've got this idea. I've got this idea for an adventure in which this happens and this happens, and these kind of things are in the background, and here's the factions I have in mind. Give me some possibilities of what might occur. And it'll go, and like a lot of writers' rooms, most of the ideas are garbage. But the ones that are useful, oh, that's a good idea. Great. I can take that and change it and morph it and make it work. So it is very useful as that tool. But again, it's the people that think AI is the kind of thing you say, give me a finished script, and it spits it out and it's any good. It's like these people have never used AI, right? We're not there yet. Well, if you want to ride in from Bloomington with me and my brother each day, we could help out. I don't know what that's referring to. Oh, for Gen Con. Okay. Yeah. I don't think so. Terry says, bummer about Gen Con. I miss you, but yes, 2027 is more important for you. I'll be staying near the airport, but I drive, and it's an easy 15-minute interstate drive back and forth. Well, that's very handy for you. I had thought of making the drive, but from Texas, that's a long drive. And honestly, taking the road trip there would be fine. The idea of having to do that 3-day trip back after 5 days of Gen Con, ooh, that's the killer part. So who knows? Next year I might have to drive because I might have to take a bunch of, oh no, what am I saying? I'm not going to have any product with me. It's going to be shipped to the warehouse in New Jersey. I've been talking to Kelsey Dion about this, about the logistics of going to cons, because I'm doing my first one as a vendor in January at Page, the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, where I'm going to be a special guest. Oh, Meg. And also have a proper booth, the Broken Empires. So that's pretty exciting. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So she's been coaching me through the steps. 2 times flew, rented a car. Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I could do that too, but there's nowhere to park down there. It's such a nightmare. Like I last time I stayed at the airport was the first year, and I just Ubered back and forth, but that became, it wasn't even really the expense of that because it wasn't that bad. It was just the inconvenience of it. Because last year I stayed at the Hilton or whatever, the one that's connect the hotel with the train in it, right? Like the main one. I don't think it's a Hilton. Maybe it's the Crown Plaza, which of course is connected directly to the convention center, and that was magnificent because I could just stumble, 300 feet into my room basically. But none were available, so I waited too long was the problem, which was on me. It was stupid. Besides rest and catching up with life after creating the Broken Empires, what are your plans for 2027? I'm assuming you need a TBE rest as well as a me, myself, and Die new season. Well, I definitely will need a rest. I don't know when I'm going to get it, because as soon as the book is ready to go, which is soon, like as soon as the digital version is ready to be shipped to the printers, that's when we give it to you guys, the backers. And then when the prototypes come back, we have to test that and make sure everything is just so. And if it is, then we do the shipments. And then, I've got a couple months. I've got about 2 months, maybe 3 with shipping, to wait. But it's not really waiting, because in that time, I have to line up next year's convention circuit, right? So I'm going to be living a year in the future starting now, actually starting last January. So it doesn't feel very restful to me. I don't think I'm going to get much of a break. And then certainly next year is going to be the year of the convention, where I'm going around to all these places. That's a plan anyway. And hawking the book and trying to gin up hype for the book and getting people excited about it and buying it and all that stuff. So I don't know how much rest I'm going to get. And considering that my next main batch of videos for the Me, Myself, and Die channel is probably going to be the tutorial videos for the Broken Empires, I'm not going to get much rest. My brother is with Indiana University, so we can use the IUND parking lot in a real pinch. But yeah, parking's pretty chancy. That's pretty good. That's pretty handy for you guys. Park at the airport hotel for free. Use rental car to drive back and forth. Lease a parking space well in advance near the ICC. Yeah, that's smart. I reserved my parking spot in January. That is smart. Page is in my backyard, relatively speaking. Perhaps I should make the effort next year. You absolutely should. Phil Wirt, who's the director of operations, he gave me his card at Gen Con last year when I met him at some big YouTuber party. I think, or was it a dinner with Professor Dungeon Master? I can't remember. It's so cool that I get to do that. You know, I was talking to my guys the other day. I was like, it's so cool. I'm part of this weird little club. You know, me and Professor Dungeon Master and Kelsey Dion and Ben Milton and Seth Skorkowski and all these people all hanging out at Gen Con. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's great, but it's wild. It's wild to be part of that club, you know? To be sitting down beside Mike Merles, one of the original creators of 5e, and listening to him saying, God, it sure would be nice to play a game now and then, because he's so damn busy writing them. You know? Or sitting down with Derek at Nights of Last Call and like totally geeking out because we're both the same guy. We're both like hyper knowledgeable of a bazillion different role-playing games. Oh, that was so cool. It was so cool. He's a fine fella. Anyway, yeah, it's weird. It's weird being part of that club, but it's great. It is great. It's fun. Anyway, I presume you guys saw that I released the supercut of Season 2, Iron Sworn. I presume you saw that. That was not announced. It was just like, I think I'm going to put this out. And it's doing a lot better than the finale of Season 4 is. Nobody watches my hard work. Nobody watches. They'll probably watch it when I release the Season 4 supercut at some point. Season 4. That was a tough one, man. That was a slug. That was very tough. Because of the interruption of the Kickstarter, it really... And also, you know, I said explicitly at the beginning I was going to use the season to test the game as I went, to develop the game as I went. And I don't like that. I would not do that again. To me, it was a failed experiment because when you watch the series, if you were looking at the series as like a teaching tool to try and learn the game, it would be almost useless to you. Because the game at the finale is a very different game in the pilot, in Season 1. or Episode 1, rather. Now, that was never really the point. I never suggested, hey, you should watch these episodes to learn the game. I never promised that. But still, for the people who are trying to follow along, it's annoying. It's frustrating. Wait a minute. Why is he rolling that? Last episode, he rolled this. Well, I tried to explain most of the time why, but I didn't always, because I was more concerned about propelling the narrative forward to see what happened with the characters. So I wouldn't do that again. Oh, there we go. We got some edits going on the core mechanics chapter, which is nice. Very good, very good, very good. Okay, good. Yes, so right now, these are notes being sent to me about the editing going on as we speak, friends. So, not the editing, the layout, I should say. The editing's long done. It's good stuff. I gotta tell you, the game is looking good. I'm pretty proud of it. It's not perfect, because nothing is. Do I wish I had 3 more years to develop this? Yeah, but I don't. And I'm actually glad I don't, because if I had 3 more years, I would take it. And then at the end of that 3 years, I'd say, yeah, I just need another year. Because the creative arts can be a trap. You have to know, as a creator, especially as a writer, you have to know when enough's enough. You have to know when it's time to release it to the public. You can't do it too soon, but you can't sit on it forever either. Because if you do, you will endlessly tinker. You know, you hear these stories about these game designers out there, indie game designers, who say things like, yeah, I've been working on my game for 20 years. It's almost ready for release. It's never going to be released. Because these people don't know when enough is enough. They don't know when to let their baby go into the world and fly on its own, right? It's a hard thing to do because you want to release the perfect thing. You don't want to have it with any errors or mistakes. But you have to accept there's going to be errors and mistakes. That's what errata documents are for. Now, you want very small errata documents if you can avoid it. But there's no game that's ever released that's perfect. Now, I will tell you this. What I've come to resent, and a lot of companies do this, much bigger companies than mine, is they release a game as though it's a piece of software, knowing that it's broken, knowing that it's not really ready, but they release it. Why? Because they figure, well, everybody expects a second edition anyway. If I buy a book, I want that book to be a finished product. It doesn't have to be perfect. but it has to be a finished product. It has to be something that I can actually use. Something isn't going to fall apart as soon as I look at it, right? I don't mean physically, I mean mechanically. But you see it a lot, where people release these things knowing, oh, I can just release an errata later. Oh, I hate that. I would much rather take the time to get it right and release a book that actually is solid and will hold together and doesn't need a 20-page errata. I would rather take the time and piss off people because you said it was going to be available this date and now it's months late and oh my God, it's the end of the world. Because the fact is, once the game comes out, if it's good and if it's well done and if it's treated with respect, nobody remembers that it's late. Look at Dolmenwood. Dolmenwood is super late, like 3 years later, something crazy. Now Dolmenwood is in the world. You do not see Reddit threads, but I can't believe they were so late. Oh, I refuse to play this game. It's so late. No, you don't. You don't see that. You see people, playing Dolmenwood, talking about it. Really love this. Oh, this is great. Oh, I've made some mouse rules here. Blah, 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 blah. They're talking about. No one's saying, I just am not going to play it because it was late. You don't see those threads. And if you do, smack. The hell's the matter with you? Oh, yeah, I love the supercuts. Good, because they take forever to do. Hindsight is always 20/20. If you could do it again, would you have finished Season 4 before doing the Kickstarter? That's a good question. Well, that's kind of hard to answer, Terry, because, again, the game was in development when I was running it. And it was in development even after the Kickstarter. Like, I knew that was... The Kickstarter wasn't, here's the finished product. The Kickstarter was, a Kickstarter. It was kickstarting an idea that I needed the funding to develop, and that's exactly what happened. So would I have finished Season 4 before doing the Kickstarter? I don't think it would have served me. Because if I had done that, then the entire season would be out of date rules-wise. Because the rules have changed considerably. Not the concepts. Like, the philosophy of the game has always remained the same. And in terms of the philosophy of the things that make up Sim Light, but the devil's in the details. So, yeah, I don't think it would have served the game to finish first. But again, it's another reason why I wouldn't do that again, Because because of all those reasons. Companies using paying customers as testers for real release. Yeah. And again, I get it. I get why they do this, but it bugs me. It bugs me because as a customer, as a consumer, if I'm paying $70 for a book, I want to know that book, it doesn't have to be replaced immediately. Like I said, I would never again buy first edition Kickstarter stuff unless it's from Free League, because Free League, they tend to get it right most of the time. Their stuff, first edition, yeah, it's good. It's well thought out. It's ready. It's not perfect, like Dragonbane. There's a few things in Dragonbane that I'm like, I don't know if you guys thought this through. But in general, I will gladly back a first edition of a Free League product. Great company. But I hate to say it, the Warhammer 4th edition book, I backed the Kickstarter, and I got that, and I read that, and I went, well, I don't like this. Did they even look at this? Did they even test this? And again, I'm not trying to come down to Cubicle 7. They've done master work in so many places. They've produced some of the greatest stuff ever. They were behind the publication of the first edition of The One Ring, which to this day is one of my favorite games. They've done fantastic work. But sometimes I feel like they're rushing because I feel like maybe they've got too much on their plate. I don't know. I don't even want to speculate because I don't know what's going on behind their closed doors. But I know they're a very small company with a lot of Games Workshop stuff on their shoulders. So I don't know. Could you survive 3 more years of TBA development? No, Craig, absolutely not. I would not make it. I wouldn't make it. Painters and musicians will always need to add or tweak their art. Sometimes you need to just put your name on the canvas and let it go. It's very hard to do. That is 100% true. And I think I've said this before, having gone through this process now, I now look at every game on my shelf, even the ones especially the ones I've been critical of over the years, and I realize what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing a completed work as far as the author is concerned. What I'm seeing is a book in a state in the state at which the author said, okay, I gotta get it out the door. I gotta release it. It's not done yet, but it's got to be good enough. Every single book in the Sages library, every single one, I look at now with new respect because I realize, right, they couldn't do everything they wanted because they ran out of time and resources. Because we live in the world, it's just the way it is. Such new respect, which is why, again, even when I say things like Warhammer 4 really pissed me off with that release, I don't want to come down too hard on those guys because I know the pressure they're under. I get it now. I get it. So I don't want to publicly disparage anybody unless they're total douchebags, which I've yet to meet personally. Everybody I've met in the business so far has been fantastic. It's been great. Kelsey's Western Reaches Kickstarter is running late as well. Yeah. I talk about that all the time with her. There's a balance between keeping to a schedule and getting a good product with minimal errata out. Yeah, it's true. Kelsey's under a lot of pressure. She's like me. She wants to release the perfect thing, but she also is too much of a realist to know that that's never going to happen. So she has to find that that happy medium, that balance, as you say. And it's hard to do sometimes, right? She's really good at that, though. Like, she's really good at sending her children into the world on their own because she prepares them, right? Her children being the games she writes. She does a lot of prep work before, right? Like, before she did the Shadowdark Kickstarter, the first one, she spent a couple of years going around to cons testing this game because she wanted it to be right. I didn't do that. I did the opposite thing. I was a true Kickstarter creator. I said, I've got this idea and nothing on paper. I mean, there wasn't nothing on the paper, but I got this idea and I need angel investors. I need backers to make the idea come to life because that's what Kickstarter was designed for. It's not a store. A lot of these big companies now, they treat Kickstarter like a store. They create their products first and then they release the Kickstarter knowing that it's already done so that the backers are going to get their stuff 3 months later. That's cheating. That is cheating. And it means that people now think that my Kickstarter project is a store. What do you mean it took 1.5 years? What? How dare you? Well, it's not a store, pal. You backed an idea, and that idea is being developed right now so that you get something cool, but it doesn't happen overnight, right? It's frustrating that people don't understand. And on one hand, how could they understand? If they've never been through the process, if they've never created anything, how could they understand? But it would be nice if they were a little less entitled, because that's annoying. Most backers will, when asked, will say they'd rather wait to get a more finished product. You are right, man. Most of the backers are great. Most. Most will be, and it is the case here. If you look at our Discord, overwhelmingly supportive and positive. If you look at the YouTube channels, my YouTube channel, overwhelmingly supportive and positive. Even the Kickstarter page is mostly supportive and positive. Kickstarter tends to bring out the worst in people, I think, and I don't know why. I don't know why the Kickstarter page creates a sense of entitlement with people that you don't really get on other platforms. That I've noticed this is my first rodeo, guys, so I'm no expert on this. But what I've seen so far is that the commentary in general on Kickstarter tends to be far more harsh, critical, and cynical than everywhere else, which makes me go, I don't want to engage with you. Ugh. But I don't know. Still, most people are great, which is what you want. We had, I think with the pre-orders, we've got 5,000 people signed up on this thing. And, the number of people that have been, shall we say, problematic, I can count on one hand. So that's pretty good for 5,000 people. If I imagine an auditorium filled with 5,000 audience members, and 5 of them are going, I don't like this show. I'm going to leave. Okay, well, sucks that you're leaving, but don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, because the rest of these 5,000 people are having a good time. And I'm glad they're here. Just as I'm glad you're here, friends. Yes, glad you're here, friends. Terry, I mostly agree, but I have had a few things show up long after I've mentally moved on to something else. Oh, with the Kickstarters. Yeah, that happens too. That does happen too. Yeah, there's no way around it. You know, it's a balance, as you say, and it takes time. I have a Kickstarter I backed, demoed it at Gen Con 2018 after I backed, still in development. But I will say the creator gives consistent updates. Well, that's something. I can promise you the Broken Empires will not take anywhere near that long. Oh, wow, brutal. I read some of the comments of the Kickstarter, and I really got pissed off by the scam comments. Bunch of donkeys. Yeah, again, those are outliers, right? Like, it's a handful. The thing I don't like about it, though, is that it spreads fear in the herd. It spreads panic in the herd when one person says, this is a scam, and the other people go, oh my God, it's a scam, it's a scam. It's not a scam. All you have to do is read the consistent monthly updates we release or watch the videos I consistently make proving it's not a scam. As I said before in another stream, if I'm a scam artist, I'm the worst scam artist on the planet because I've had your money for over a year, and yet I still come back to talk to you about the project. I still work on the project and show you evidence of our hard work on it. So, terrible scam artist. The worst. I got to learn how to be a better scam artist. The Kickstarter page backers are generally getting less info that the Patreon and Discord backers, or at least less frequent. And I think that feeds the discontent. You're probably correct about that, Robert. But at the same time, we do monthly updates, which most Kickstarters do not. And if you're on the Kickstarter page, you have no excuse for not seeing the updates because right beside the comments tab, there's the updates tab. It's right there. You just click. That's the click. I want to see the updates from the comments. Click. There it is. Oh, look at that. 25 updates or whatever it's been. So I don't really accept that argument. You know, because it's right there. You know, we go above and beyond to be as transparent as we possibly can. But whatever, you know, it doesn't even matter. There's going to be people who are bitching about stuff. You know, I've said before, and this is as a voice actor too. I know this, that there is no greater critics of a property than its most devoted fans, right? Man, if you guys play Helldivers 2, if you go on the Helldivers 2 Reddit, all these people do is complain. All they do is complain about this game. I can't believe the developers aren't giving me exactly the game that I want. Oh my God, guys, just relax a little bit. Have some fun, man. Just play some games, you know. Relax and shoot some bugs. I don't get it. I don't get that entitled attitude. I don't get it. Makes me crazy. Like, comment, sub. Check your email for monthly updates. Yes, exactly. Like, comment, and subscribe. Yes, you should get an email. There's an update too. Exactly. You should. And if you don't, that's not my problem. We have to figure it out, right? But email me if you're not getting the updates and you want them and you don't want to go to the Kickstarter page. Just let us know. We'll see if we can fix it, you know? Have you taken less voice acting gigs to work on TBE? No, I haven't taken less work specifically to work on the Broken Empires because the nature of my work is that I work right here. You can't see it, but my audio booth, my professional audio booth is right here. This is actually the control room. And I can work at any point, so I just pop in there and fire up the connection with LA, and away we go. So it's rare that my sessions take longer than a couple hours tops, so it doesn't really interfere with the Broken Empire so much. You just described Star Wars fans. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's any fandom, right? To an extent, it's any big fandom where the most rabid fans are also the most hateful of the creators doing stuff with it. I mean, sometimes I get it, right? If the creators are taking it in a new direction that has no respect for the source material, that's me. I'm that critical fan, right? How dare you show such little respect for the source material? Why did you even do this if you're changing it so much for your own political agenda or your own whatever, right? Like, why? Just go make your own thing. Go make your own thing. So yeah, I can be that guy, but only when it's warranted. Where are we at here? An hour 20. I was going to make this short one. I do have to go now, guys. I have to go eat. I've got a sirloin steak It's been sitting on the counter, coming to room temperature. Well, it's at room temperature now, all right. Well, thanks, guys. This has been fun. Thanks for joining me on such short notice. Keep coming back, too. We'll do more. I like these. I like these sessions. I like these chats. I wasn't sure if it'd work out, but I really dig it. So let's do it again. Let's do it again soon. All right, friends. Until next time, I will see you